Hello, welcome to Eternal Beta. I'm Scott Rowe.
I'm Nathan Anderson.
Today we're going to talk about something that we deal with just about every single day. A lot of times we talk about like new trends and things like that, but we kind of wanted to go back, kind of hit home a little bit and talk about something we know a lot of people deal with a problem, and that's really determining what content management system you should use for a given web project. And it's a huge topic.
Yeah, well, it's a funny topic because it's a big deal to us, but most people don't even know that exists. It's an incidental thing, but there's thought that goes into selecting it, and there's a lot of stakeholders involved, and so it's something worth exploring.
Absolutely.
And that people should be more aware of if you're going in to make a website.
Exactly, which is kind of important to think about things before you just start executing.
No.
Really? So the first thing, we broke it down into 3 points we're going to cover today. So the first one is whether you're an agency or whether you're a company doing your own web work in-house. The first thing that you need to think about is what current technology stacks are you most comfortable with?
Yep. And that is, that's a broad subject in and of itself, but you should, if you're a company, and you should talk to your IT department and find out what your internal competencies are and whether there's a desire to maintain the site in-house or use a third-party vendor to host it, because that can influence those decisions. And you could have very different IT needs internally versus externally, and that is a lot of times, that's what locks you down and sends you down a road. Is in-house, you can only do .NET, but your agency will be happy to give you something in WordPress.
Right. And that's something,
or vice versa.
A lot of smaller companies don't even understand there is a difference. They think it's all just kind of one thing. It's just web technology. Well, it's really not. There's so many different programming languages and platforms and things. So, it could be something like, PHP and a MySQL database. It could be, .NET running Microsoft SQL Server. It could be an Oracle database, running something else. It's kind of all over the board. But it's really important to focus on what it is you know and you can do well. We don't generally think it's a great idea to just explore or experiment with new technology stacks unless there's a specific reason why to do that, because you're going to end up spending a lot more time and investing a lot more effort and dollars into doing that. So I think it's something kind of important to think about.
Yeah. You definitely want to minimize your risks out the gate, and that's sticking to core competencies.
Right. Yeah. Also reduces the number of bugs in an application too. Yeah. So the second thing is licensed content management systems versus open source. So
this really, this plays off of our first point, because depending on the technology stack you select, you will have narrowed options, and there's a lot of free opportunities out there, and there's a lot of paid opportunities. What I think a licensed model, what it really boils down to is support. And if something breaks, who is going to help me fix this? And with the free products, you have just no one's shoulder to lean on, a message board on the internet. But licensed model that you're paying either monthly or annual subscription fees for, you have a phone number you call, you have a comfort level. And this also then even plays into in-house versus outside. Some IT company or some IT departments just have straight up policy, software has to have a support contract.
Right.
We have to have that.
Right.
And so there may be a wonderful open source product, but if there's no support options available, it could be out the window.
Right. And just to kind of take it back a small step in regards to license versus open source. License are commercially available products that you're literally paying either a subscription or an upfront licensing fee to use that software. Not that incredibly dissimilar than Microsoft Windows or Microsoft Word. It's a license to use that piece of software. Open source, these are technologies, there's pieces of software that have been created by development communities. A lot of times it's literally individuals taking their own time on the side to develop out this software, and they make it freely available, free as in free beer, available to companies so they can use them to create something based on that and be able to expand upon it. So a lot of them are very, very well developed. WordPress and Joomla and things like that, Drupal, are very well developed products that have a tremendous number of functions and features and that are great software solutions. But like Nathan said, a lot of companies will require that ongoing licensing agreement and support, the paid support, so they can just call a phone number if they're having an issue and get immediate help with that. So it really is different. And obviously, how much you can invest into the project may help to determine whether you're using a licensed or an open source project.
Well, and that would really depend on the size and scope of your site. if you're talking about, if it's an e-commerce site and the site is down for an hour and you lose $10,000, then it's like I need someone who can solve this for me right now, versus just relying on hopefully the community will solve something for you.
Exactly. Which kind of takes us into the final point in which we're really going to discuss. And this one, there's a tremendous amount we could really talk about, but it comes down to project needs. Now, this really is no different than, when you're solving any other kind of problem, business problem, market problem. Ultimately, you need to analyze what is the problem and what are you trying to solve? How are you trying to solve it? Every content management system has different strengths, different weaknesses, different core competencies in and of itself. Some are great with dynamic form creation, so you can create 15 different types of forms that'll store information in the database, automatically email results or export it or create an XML feed, all these different types of things. Some don't have that. So it really, you really have to take a step back and say, am I creating just a simple marketing website with a lot of marketing content? Is it an e-commerce site? Is this kind of a CRM? Is it a lead generation system? A lot of these have different flexibility components. You can add on features and things, but I still think you really need to focus on what that core essence of that solution is.
Yep. And most marketing sites, any CMS off the shelf will pretty much do the job. I suppose based on this project needs, one thing that should be considered as well is the users and how easily adoptable the paradigms that the CMS itself sets up, how they adapt to your organization. Because ultimately, everybody I just want to update the text on my website. How do I do that? And everybody kind of solves that problem in a different way. And based on your user base, there might be one that's more appropriate than the other as well. And by user base, I mean the business users who are managing the content.
Administrators.
The administrators.
And that is something really important because we've worked with a lot of clients that have had completely different needs. Some have a team of 5 marketing people that are just responsible for updating the website and they have final say in everything. Others need more of a contributor and then an editor and then somebody to actually roll out the updates. So it really depends. Other clients we've integrated with their own internal software for user management, so we can actually validate against their internal databases for user management and all of that. So, a lot of those things you have to think about too. It's kind of that can be, depending on the size of the project or the company, a really important thing to look at. But even things like content types, how many different types of content you having pages? Do you need blog posts?
Yes.
Are you pulling in kind of some kind of document management, so you need to have PDFs available, and those need to be categorized and organized a certain way with a nice, strong search engine to help people find those types of resources. Some CMSs, quite honestly, are better out of the box handling that type of thing than others. And if you don't want to spend an enormous amount of time adding on functionality, writing your own programming logic on top of it to accomplish those objectives, which that sounds like it's not that big of a deal, but when you think about the different use cases, then you have the front end, how is it displayed, how is the information stored, and then how do you administrate it? So it's kind of, there's a bunch of different things you have to look at when really developing out an add-on piece like that. So there's a lot of different things to think about, but hopefully that gave you just kind of some initial things to think about. So if you have any questions or you have any observations or thoughts on this, go ahead and tweet us at Bozell. And thank you for watching today.
Thanks.